Welcome, everyone, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. I am Ginny Sanders, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I will be with you for the next 2 hours, along with our very own Dr. Carolyn Dean, to host you in this most auspicious and delightful weekly radio show, a 2-hour call-in talk radio show. Call-in meaning you call in, we talk, then you talk, then we talk. It's so much fun to talk to Dr. Carolyn Dean. And I like to remind everybody at the beginning that that is what this is about. Dr. Dean will open up her radio show, for those of you who are first tuning in, with her topic of the week to instruct, to edify, to encourage you to know and be inspired about your body, how it functions, what it can do, will do for you, with you, when you empower it with the right nutrients, those essential building blocks we like to talk about, and also some good fresh air and some sunshine and some movement. Dr. Dean's got tons of tricks up her bag to get your body moving in the right direction. And we're going to talk about that tonight, but we're also going to let you call in at 602-666-6027. 602-666-6027 is the number you can call and talk to Dr. Carolyn Dean tonight. What should I say? Talk to 50 years of wisdom and intelligence and experience and caring for community and caring for bodies. 50 years of that momentum, that buildup of great wealth and intuitiveness that you get to access when you speak with her about the things that are important to you, body, mind, and how you can improve your outcomes. So we're going to let you do that tonight. We've also got a chat line. You can chitty chat in with us. And, of course, we've also got the quick messaging if you want to do something private. Now, let me also say, Dr. Dean does not give medical advice on her radio show because that would be a big no-no. And, by the way, common sense would dictate that you would want to check with your healthcare practitioner and all these other kinds of things, according to the FDA, about things that you might hear on the radio show. But Dr. Dean will do is tell you what she would do if she were you. And believe me, she has done everything. She is a medical doctor, very accomplished. She is a naturopath, very accomplished. She's an herbalist, acupuncturist. She's done feng shui and tai kwang and guandong and every single thing you can think of in the whole wide world relating to body movement and mechanics. She herself is the epitome of aliveness and beauty and grace, and extremely wildly healthy, along with her husband. And she's just a great person, and she's a great doctor, and she's got great information for you. So that's who you're going to be talking to and interacting with tonight. We welcome you to the show, and it's just going to be a fun evening. So without further ado, we will introduce you to the one and only, the very dynamic, the absolutely delightful and delicious in every single way, our Carolyn, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Yay. Yay. Once again, thank you, Ginny. I was just Googling for a Christmas dinner cruise over here in Maui, so I'm sorry to be distracted. Can you imagine having Christmas dinner on a boat? It's just incredible, the experience that you can have. So I'm inviting everybody over for Christmas in Maui. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds delightful. That sounds delightful. Yeah. Absolutely. Wonderful. And how, if I want to take you up on this offer, how am I supposed to do that exactly?
Just book a flight to Maui and land and let the trade winds blow you in the right direction.
I thought you were going to say land in the airport and then call Ginny and tell her you're here.
Not. It's so funny. Anyway, Bob says no to all my great ideas and suggestions. So, sorry, folks. I misspoke.
Oh, so you're retracting your invitation now. All right. I see how you are. I see how you are.
I see how you are. Now, what's amazing in my world is that I get to go over to see Ginny for the staff Christmas party next week, and I'm just so looking forward to it. It's going to be so exciting. It's the first time I've come over So that's going to be fun. Ginny isn't even saying what's going to happen. I'll have to bring all kinds of different wardrobe changes.
That's right. That's right. It could be anything. So you have to be prepared for everything. That's right. That's right.
Right. Right. Okay, so what are we doing today? Gosh, look what Ginny put out as the blog for today, and you can see it at drcarolyndeanlive.com, right in the middle of all our gastronomic delights through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. Ginny's blog is about digestion. So it'll put kind of a damper on you, but actually maybe it'll help you through this month, because we overeat. We eat a lot of sweets that we don't normally eat, but it is a good experiment. You do get to experiment with foods that maybe you've been avoiding, and you can see firsthand how they are affecting you. And the blog, you can follow along, as I said, at drcarolyndeanlive.com. It's on the first page there. We talk about the human gut goes from the sinuses in the nose, actually, all the way to the anus, because it's a tube. It's like a hollow tube, mucous membranes that are affected by so many things. And that mucous membrane tube has to protect you from outside influences. It has to protect your nasal mucosa and your sinuses from inhaled irritants. It has to protect your gut from influences of things that you eat, and it has to protect your intestines from being irritated. And what I know about that whole GI tract is that yeast overgrowth is the worst enemy. And in the blog we get to that, but let me just say it up front that even from the nasal membranes, when you start having a lot of mucus discharge, when your tongue actually, although the tongue is not part of the tube, but your tongue can show you, if it's very white, that there can be yeast overgrowth. So what happens if you get yeast in your different orifices in your mucous membranes, they irritate to such an extent that when, for example, you walk into a grocery store and smell all the soap powders, or into a department store and smell perfumes, and they really irritate your nasal membranes, that's maybe because those membranes are already irritated by yeast. And yeast, they're supposed to be little buds that sit in your large intestine and help to break down foods, or break down the final digested foods that get to the large intestine. But when you eat a lot of sugar and allow those yeast buds to overgrow, they need to find a new home, and they start migrating up into the small intestine, and they migrate by creating threads. And these thread-like mycelia, actually they poke holes in the small intestine, and in my experience, my research, and my opinion, they're the reason for a leaky gut. And they also cause a leaky nose, because when yeast grow in your nasal membranes, in your sinuses, they will grow into your ears and cause itching and irritation, grow in your throat and cause itching and irritation. But in the nasal membranes, they cause a lot of irritation. In my case, when I eat too much sugar and my yeast starts to increase, I will get little tiny painful staphylococcal boils in my nose, and then I know I have to get back on the sugars. It's my indication that my yeast is starting to overgrow, weakening my immune system and allowing kind of the normal staphylococca that's in our skin and mucous membranes. It just kind of grows out of bounds. And what do we do in medicine when people get staphylococcal boils? We give them a lot of antibiotics, and then they get more yeast overgrowth. Because when you take antibiotics, you kill off the good and bad bacteria, and that allows yeast to just grow rampant. And unfortunately, when they talk about leaky gut and the gut dysbiosis and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, they forget about yeast. Yeast, I don't know why, but it is there. Maybe it's because it's hard to diagnose. I know when I was in my practice up in Toronto, I had a lab where we were looking at Candida albicans, the yeast. We were looking at antibodies. We were doing all the research. And what I realized is that just a few questions about the possibility of yeast overgrowth were more important than the blood tests, because everybody does have some yeast. So to me, that's the underlying problem with digestion. And I encourage people to go to the book, Reset the Yeast Connection. It's a free download at drcarolyndeanlive.com under books, and really kind of research what yeast means and what yeast means to you, because we really do have to get that under control. And it becomes a little less difficult. I personally found when I started to take my Pico Silver that my yeast got more under control. If I did do a sugar binge, then I wouldn't get so much yeast because I was taking my Pico Silver. And actually, when I first started the Pico Silver, I got a bit of a yeast die-off. So we're coming up with more and more ways to deal with yeast overgrowth. Certainly when our Flora Revive, our natural probiotic, finally hits the shelves, that's going to be very helpful, because not only does it have the microbiome restoration of humic and fulvic acid, it has Saccharomyces boulardii, which is antifungal probiotic. So if you follow along with the blog here, many people will experience digestive symptoms such as upset stomach, gas, bloating, heartburn, nausea, constipation, or diarrhea every once in a while, especially during the holiday season when the tendency is to overindulge in food and drink. Now, what you can do there, like when we used to have our Christmas sugar parties many years ago, I would get everybody to take extra vitamin C ascorbic acid to help digest or break down, metabolize the sugar in the liver. Realign will also serve that purpose, and Realign is very good for breaking down alcohol in the liver. And further along, we're talking about indicators of symptoms. Like if you keep eating gluten, if you're sensitive to it, or dairy or sugars, then that can turn into an irritable bowel syndrome. Now, irritable bowel, it does seem to require some stress as well as problematic diet. I know I got my first symptoms of IBS in my first year of medical school just because of the overwhelming tension and stress. I didn't have a clue what it was. I hadn't gotten to GI yet, and back then I don't even think IBS was talked about. But I certainly had the pain, abdominal pain. Now, what occurs there is if you're eating foods that cause gas, and I knew a few years later, I knew I had some wheat intolerance, some dairy intolerance, and some sugar intolerance. And when you eat foods that you're intolerant to, you don't digest them properly, or even if you just don't chew well, you don't digest your food properly. And incompletely digested food gets into the GI tract and feeds intestinal bacteria and yeast, and that forms gas. And this gas has to roll along through the intestines. But if you're under stress and if you have magnesium deficiency, which is what I had back then and did not know that, then your intestinal muscles can go into periodic spasms. And you get a spasm that tightens down on that tube of a GI tract with a bunch of gas building up behind it. You get pain. It's the stretching of the intestines that causes the worst pain in the intestines. And people know that. I mean, it's like you're a bloated cow where they have to actually stick a tube into the cow's stomach to release the gas. Now, that's not going to happen with humans, but it feels like you want that to happen. And what will treat that, of course, is taking your Remag, taking your magnesium to help, first of all, create the proper hydrochloric acid in the stomach to release the spasms of the diaphragm, the stomach, and the intestinal lining, or the muscles lining the tubes of the GI tract. Magnesium is going to do all that to help your digestion. So the IBS situation, that's interesting because years later I wrote the book IBS for Dummies, and I realized with all my research that if you don't get your IBS under control by manipulating your diet and taking your Remag magnesium, it will and can turn into an inflammatory bowel disease. And that's where, a lot of medications are prescribed, even surgery is prescribed, and you can cut that off at the pass if you treat your IBS. Identifying the culprit is the next section. While many healthcare professionals will target symptoms, I prefer to reveal the underlying cause. So that's Candida, which is one of the 400 organisms that lives in our mouth, digestive tract, vagina, and on the skin. Most of the time, they all get along with their neighbors. And then, as I said, when you begin taking antibiotics, you lose the whole delicate balance. And with this yeast growing wildly inside your bodies, it's an epidemic out of control. And then this leaky gut business becomes, the diagnosis. And, I mean, what is medicine doing about leaky gut? You may have heard of the fecal implants that are being used now to supposedly give people good fecal bacteria from a human donor that will repopulate their intestinal microbiome, but there's already been deaths by doing this. So the medicine will go to the extreme instead of go to the basics, and the basics being reading a book like I've suggested, a free download of Reset the Yeast Connection so you can understand what's going on, and then doing a yeast detox supported by and with complement formulas to support the structure and function of your body. The toxins from yeast are what's causing a lot of the symptoms of inflammation that medicine is recognizing now. They say many and most of the chronic diseases are inflammatory. Well, when you get the 178 different yeast toxins floating around in your bloodstream, they're going to cause symptoms from head to toe. And it's not until you avoid sugar, gluten, and dairy and starve your yeast for a couple of weeks that you may even realize that you've had a problem with these foods, feeding the yeast organisms, allowing them to go through their life cycle, and then when they die, these yeast chemical byproducts are released and cause all these symptoms. I mean, we've got an impaired immune system with these toxins. They can block thyroid function, impair female hormones, cause symptoms of PMS, aggravate menopause, and then, as I said, the inflammation being responsible in part for heart disease, bowel disease, and arthritic conditions, also autoimmune diseases. I've always said that autoimmune disease is a combination of yeast overgrowth and magnesium deficiency. And toward the end of the blog, Ginny put in a testimonial of a customer who says, for decades I suffered from severe bouts of acid reflux and heartburn several times each week. Recently I started taking Remag for an unrelated ailment. To my pleasant surprise, the supplemental magnesium not only cured the ailment for which I was taking it, it also completely stopped my episodes of acid reflux and heartburn. I've since learned that acid reflux is caused by stomach spasms, which cause acid to be ejected into the esophagus, which is not designed to be exposed to stomach acid, and it burns when it is so exposed. Magnesium is a natural relaxant as well as a natural antacid, and therefore it helps prevent the stomach spasm, which is the root cause of acid reflux and accompanying heartburn. So that was our customer's reaction to the Remag, which is wonderful. And the yeast treatment, the final section here is what's the solution. I've already mentioned it's dealing with the yeast overgrowth and using diet, natural antifungals. Unfortunately, if you go to your doctor and if they even do ever recognize yeast overgrowth, they'll recommend an antifungal, which is actually a fluoride drug. It has a fluoride molecule attached, and we know when intestinal organisms break down drugs that have a fluoride attachment, the fluoride can be sheared off and then bind with magnesium and making magnesium deficiency another part of your symptoms. So yes, it's a whole ball of wax, but we do have a handle on it, and you can read our information and start balancing the structure and function of your whole body with our completement formulas so that your body can your immune system of your body can take care of this yeast overgrowth and all the things that it does to irritate your immune system, which is in your intestines. The immune system is very strong in your GI tract, as I said at the very beginning, because it has to protect you from all the things that you eat and drink that can be dangerous to you. So the immune system of the intestines is very, very important. Okay, so I think I flung myself through that, bobbing and weaving in all kinds of sidebars. So, Ginny, what did I leave out?
I do not think you left much out. I think that sounded really good. I think it was great. And so what do you think about how long should people give themselves to make dietary adjustments in these things before they have to take the next step if you feel, is there a diagnostic that's appropriate, and how should that go?
Right. Now it's a great question actually, because we've got so many options and choices in front of us, and unfortunately, here's how it goes. If you know you're eating junk, then you can be assured that you're going to feel a heck of a lot better very soon when you stop eating the junk and start eating more salads and more free-range eggs, chicken, and even beef. I'm an O blood type, and I thrive on an animal-based diet. I really I really have concerns about a plant-based diet for people who need the protein to build the structure of the body. I think it's very difficult for people to eat a plant-based diet and really thrive. Only 4% of the North American population is vegan or vegetarian. 4%. And by my way of thinking,
I was just going to say, Carolyn, there's a big new video out on on Netflix. It's called Game Changers. It's produced by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan, who are both committed vegan athletes. And it's a huge promotion for veganism to sustain a high-performance athletic diet and how plant-based diets. Now, if you were type A, I could see that. Maybe they are type A's and their bodies just naturally respond to more of a plant-based diet. Although this is vegan. This isn't even just, vegetarian. I mean, it's pretty hardcore. But it was interesting to see all the, support of different athletes and stuff like that who are trying that. And apparently they're trying it to try to get some kind of a competitive advantage.
Right. Well, when you're toxic and you go plant-based, you can feel a lot better. But it's a long-term use of a plant-based diet where we see the results of our customers who've been trying to do a vegetarian diet and they feel bad. I mean, even my foster daughter Shannon, she came on the show in October 2018 and said that her 20 years of veganism worked against her. She hadn't slept well for 20 years, and of course she didn't listen. I didn't try to dissuade her, but every time she said, well, I'm feeling worse on this diet, and she knew all the big wigs in the plant world and the vegan world, and they just said, you're not strict enough. And she just got sicker and sicker. So what people have to realize is they have to go by how they feel. I mean, if you're craving meat and you eat some and you feel fantastic, but then you're guilty because you're killing animals and you'd rather kill yourself with a diet that doesn't support you. I mean, that's all. It's all very emotional and very psychological what's going on there. Now, was it you or Greg that sent me the critique of the Game Changers, where they
Greg
said
did.
there's no science behind it. They'll make all these anecdotes, but there's no real science. Even when you look at the China study by that Harvard professor, and they said, there's areas in China where people do so much better on a plant-based diet, and that wasn't even true because they found out that the people on a plant-based diet were doing so because of poverty, and they scrambled to get a little bit of meat in their diet, and the statistics were all kind of manipulated to show the political intent of vegetarianism is better. It's like the leftist liberal agenda that we're killing the planet because we're eating animal protein. So there's huge biases out there, huge mind manipulation, but you really have to go by how you feel. Physically, not your guilt, not you going to an abattoir when you're a teenager where a vegetarian teacher takes you in to try to get kids to be vegetarians, because who wouldn't be put off meat if they go to an abattoir and see what goes on? But there are ways to get free-range everything and wild everything and on and on and on. I mean, there's a big war on between the plant-based world. And you notice they're calling it plant-based now. They're hardly ever saying vegetarian and vegan. And by changing the word to plant-based, it sort of redefines it and makes you think, oh, it's a whole new thing. But the problem I see as well with the nutrients in a vegetarian diet is the plants don't have the minerals anymore. And we get enough young people coming to us saying that they were vegans, vegetarians, and drinking their 40 ounces of green drink a day and still having heart palpitations and leg cramps because they weren't getting enough magnesium in their diet. So when you start out with a diet that's so deficient, then you can't go much further. Magnesium is necessary for 80% of known metabolic functions in the body. So if you don't have energy, you're not sleeping well, your muscles are tight, et cetera, if you're a dairy vegetarian, you're going to get a lot of calcium. I hear about vegetarians who eat dairy who drink a lot of goat milk and goat kefir and goat cheese, and they're getting huge amounts of calcium that are overcoming their low amounts of magnesium, and they're running into all kinds of problems. So there's got to be a balance, and the balance is not by doing a plant-based diet. I don't. Do you want to put that critique of the Game Changers on the chat, Jenny? I can't seem to find it anymore. Because I think,
sure.
I think when these things come up and you start thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I should be a vegetarian. I mean, I went through that for decades because in my world, being a quote wellness doctor, everybody would ask me, well, are you a vegetarian? And what about macrobiotics? And what about veganism? So I've tried them all, made myself sick on all of them, so I know they're not for me. And then that allows me to tell people my experience and get them to do their own experiment. But please don't let it go on for 20 years where you're going to deplete your body. I mean, one of the main symptoms with several friends of mine who I know were vegan vegetarians, they started losing their teeth. They started having real problems because they didn't have enough magnesium to pull the calcium properly into the bones and the teeth. And they all went through early menopause. So, yeah, we have to be careful. Okay, so what else? Because I will go into a few things. We didn't have much mailbag, but I'll go into the mailbag and then something else that also came up. So is there anything else, say, on the chat that we can deal with right now, Ginny?
There are not, just a couple comments on the chat that we can come back to if you want to.
Okay. Now, last week, I didn't know Ginny was going to do this blog, but last week someone asked me about lectins. They said, I was just on YouTube and a doctor mentioned that lectins are bad for you and I should discontinue foods that have lectins. Do you have an opinion on this? And yeah, I have an opinion on most things. I think you've figured out. So lectins are defined as proteins that bind to carbohydrates. The same features that lectins use to defend plants in nature may cause problems during human digestion. They resist being broken down in the gut and are stable in acidic environments, features that protect lectin-containing plants in nature. So there is a doctor who's, making it his life's work to attack lectins. So I said to this customer, I'm very much against using the avoidance of foods as a way of maintaining health. I think that approach is limiting and makes people feel that food is not their friend. The fad of avoiding lectins is one of a long line of food avoidance approaches. It's true that some foods are hard to digest, allergenic, or best eaten cooked, and a person finds that out by trial and error. Foods high in lectins include potatoes and tomatoes. But a person may be allergic or sensitive to these deadly nightshades because of the alkaloids. There's several alkaloids in nightshades, solanine, nicotine, and capsaicin. There are lectins in red kidney beans, but you don't eat those raw, and cooking limits lectins. Same with soybeans, but many avoid soy because soy is so hard to digest. Wheat is high in lectins, but many people are avoiding wheat because of gluten. Peanuts are high in lectins, but many avoid them because of mold issues. So I've named a number of the high lectin foods. And now what I determined from all that is that people who avoid so-called lectin foods and feel better may be feeling better because they're avoiding these alkaloids, gluten, and mold. Also, the reason why I don't promote long-term avoidance of foods is because I've found with using our complement formulas that former sensitivities to foods are eliminated because the person is supporting the structure and function of their body, including the digestive system. And actually, this customer asked if he could present my argument to the author of this lectin theory. And I said, I'm not interested in you sharing this information with a lectin denier, LOL. There's no point in doing battle with a person who has such a fixed opinion and thinks they are right, brackets. I didn't say this to the customer, but I'm saying it now, and who has a whole industry built around this theory. Just use the information for your own purposes. So you get my point, Ginny. By saying avoid these terrible lectins, it may not be the lectin avoidance, but the fact that they're avoiding deadly nightshades, which can cause small joint arthritis, avoid gluten, which can cause a lot of gastrointestinal problems, and mold in the peanuts, which can cause a lot of cross-reactivity with yeast overgrowth. So they're assigning the improvement in health to avoiding lectins instead of just avoiding these foods because they have other ways of irritating your body. So what do you think of that, Ginny? Pretty cool, eh?
Yes, that is very cool. And now I'm wondering, is not the blood type diet, though, also based in that somewhat? Who's the doctor that's recommending this avoiding lectins business?
Oh, shoot.
Is that Gundry?
Gundry, yeah, Gundry.
Yeah. Okay. He's the one that gets so excited about polyphenols or something like that, and you were sucking them down like your job in your clothes every day, and it cracked me up so bad. Yeah, I think the blood type diet does have something to do with how blood reacts to lectins, but it's not across the board. No. So it's the whole business about avoiding food. See, we went through that years ago, and I talk about the scenario of my first patients were hypoglycemic and allergic, and they went through all this food avoidance, and it goes in cycles because now you see big lists of avoiding histamine foods, and then come to find out magnesium is a natural antihistamine, or avoiding oxalic acid foods, and again, magnesium can help people out. So the avoidance just makes people, really so limited in their diet. It's hard to get nutrients in a limited diet. So anyway, I thought that was interesting about the lectins, and just to say to people, the worst is over. You get your complement formulas under your belt, and you support the structure and function of your whole body.
Now, someone did write in a blog question on your blog, Ginny, and they said, please advise on natural supplements to enhance digestive function and nervous system for early menopause. What is the optimal time to take REMAG? What dosage? How about complementary supplements, including vitamin C? So that's a whole bunch of questions. The digestive function, yes, we didn't talk about that in the blog. You could be sipping apple cider vinegar diluted in water with your meal to help your digestion. Your nervous system, you need the Realign, which also helps detoxify yeast. REMAG, you sip it throughout the day. The dosage is anywhere from 2 teaspoons to 4 teaspoons. 1 teaspoon of REMAG is less than the RDA, so we are very much finding that people require more than 1 teaspoon. We put the half teaspoon twice a day as the dosage on the label just to satisfy FDA requirements, but we do say that under the direction of your doctor, and you can be your own doctor, you can experiment with what your body requires. And they ask, how about complementary supplements, including vitamin C? Vitamin C is in there as well as part of our formulas, but what you would do when you use digestive enzymes, for example, if the apple cider vinegar doesn't work, is you get a digestive enzyme that has hydrochloric acid in it as well as pancreatic enzymes. And what you do right this moment is go and download my 600-page health encyclopedia, Future Health Now. It's free at drcarolyndeanlive.com. And by looking up the various digestive sections about heartburn, GERD, IBS, yeast overgrowth, you can get an overview and a more extensive overview of this whole digestive function. Okay, this questioner actually goes on to say, the GERD symptoms, which I started over perimenopause 5 years ago, have significantly improved since I started taking REMAG nightly, as suggested by my holistic medical practitioner in Australia. Now the thing is, it's not just one dose at night. It can be sipped through the day, and it will help heal the body through the day. I've also been able to phase out daily dosage of Somac. I think that must be an antacid. However, I wish to indulge in an occasional cup of tea or spicy food, chocolate, sweet treat without recurring flash of uncontrollable heartburn. So I don't know her whole history. I imagine taking the REMAG through the day will help, but also taking the other supplements. There can be something, some deficiency of the other minerals, so you would take your REMITE to get the other minerals and benefit from that. You can do the restructure, which will calm the intestines, etc., etc. She says, I've cut out yeast in my diet, do not drink coffee, alcohol, nor smoke. So she's on the right track, and that's Val. Okay, so thank you, Val, for that question. Go to and get the book, download the book so you can read all the interesting bits. And I can stop there, Ginny, and we can go to the chat or phones. I do have testimonials. I came across a whole swatch of them or swath of them from 2016 that I don't think we ever mentioned. They're incredible how beneficial the complement formulas are. And yes, I feel for the people who say, well, I'm not better. It's not been a miracle for me, but then you really have to listen to the archives and listen to how we go over a person who says they're not better. They're usually not taking enough REMAG. They're not sipping it through the day. They're not doing sea salted water. They're not taking the other formulas, and they're not giving it enough time. So keep reading, keep listening so that you can, on the intellectual side, understand what's going on and try to to get the emotional side to be more patient. Over to you, Jenny.
Okay, very good. Excellent. All right, let's get caught up from a couple things on the chat. This is from Lanny last week, who called in regarding the reasons why her RBC mag test went down and her symptoms returned. She said, thanks for putting the show in the archives so I can listen over and over. I did listen again, and I learned even more. I did change my psyllium powder to what you recommended, and my bowel movements are much better. I already had some of Dr. Bush's Restore, but I kept forgetting to take it. So I'm taking that regularly now. Thanks for that. My new question is, I weigh 125 pounds, and I put 4 teaspoons of Remag and 2.5 teaspoons of Remite and pink Himalayan salt in 84 ounces of water that I drink over 24 hours. Is that too much water? Could that be flushing out too much magnesium?
Yeah, I would say that's too much water. 125 pounds, as you said, that's only 62.5 ounces of water. So that extra water, it can be flushing out. So I would cut back on that. And actually, the extra water can liquefy the stools as well. So I don't think there's any benefit to taking more water, even if it does have the sea salt. So see how you do with that, Lanny, and thank you for getting back to us.
Excellent. Okay. Arik also typed in and said, thank you for everything, Dr. Dean. I'm still getting great preliminary results on my anti-AFib protocol with the Total Body Reset. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Here's to a great 2020. So that was a very lovely comment.
Yes.
Yeah, very lovely.
Thank you.
Okay,
nice.
Now 602-666-6027 is the number to call. And if you're holding on the line and you want to talk to Dr. Dean, you've got to raise your hand by hitting *5 on your keypad, *5. Well, raise your hand in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment. And then I'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean. So right now, nobody's raising their hand, which means that either you haven't yet hit *5 or you don't want to talk to Dr. Dean, in which case, see, there they come. It just takes a little prodding. Okay, let's take a couple of phone calls, and then we'll do testimonials here in a minute. So let's go to area code 732, the great state of New Jersey. 732, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, it's Diana again. It's so nice to speak with you one more time. I hope you both had a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Diana. Yes, of course.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh, you do? Okay, great. Yeah, my question is, I read an article which was talking about magnesium, and supposedly high levels of magnesium can increase...
you, Diana. Your mouse, I think, went away from your microphone, so we can't hear you as well.
Okay, let me try it again. This article indicates that high levels of magnesium can actually increase wrist fractures. So I was a little concerned. It was a medical study that we found online. What do you feel about that?
Wrist fractures?
Yeah, that's what the article mentioned.
Pardon? Can't hear you,
That's what
Diana.
the article stated. Oh.
Well, I'd have to read it. It sounds totally ridiculous to me how they could measure high levels of magnesium when they're probably using serum magnesium. So the people who would be high would probably be people who are getting intravenous magnesium. I don't know. I mean, wrist fractures happen in the elderly when they fall down and try to break their fall. It makes no sense to me. It just
right. I think it's kind of being misquoted, Diana. There is a study online that basically is about osteoporosis in a women's health observational study, which is a different kind of a scientific study, and it's just talking about bone mineral density and fractures. And it's just basically saying, and Carolyn, I can send it to you, that how low magnesium is involved with all these different depletion is involved with all these different health conditions and risks. And then it also just says that if you take too much magnesium over the RDA, that you may have some kind of a additional risk. But it says there is no data on chronic exposure to excess magnesium intake related to BMD and fracture risk. So somehow these correlations do not equal out. And I want to say, Carolyn, that I think this is kind of common, and this is what we call Googleitis. And that's what happens when our customers have to balance out the idea that, our magnesium product is so extraordinary, and really if you just take it consistently every single day, as it builds in the body and as it restores cellular function, as it restores organs, as it restores digestion, as it restores everything, you enter into more and more confidence about your body and your health. And this just flies in the face of what everybody thinks they know. So they get on the Googler and they start trying to find where is the risk of using magnesium, and there just really isn't any. And so these kinds of things come up. Yeah, so I'll send it to you, Carolyn, but it's really, it's very kerfuffly now.
Yeah,
because it's probably the same article, Judy. Yeah,
as you said, Diana, it worries me, it concerns me, that, and it's almost like that's what the fake news of medicine is trying to do to people, is confuse them. But from what Ginny says, it's just an aside where, if we comply with what the FDA says, and actually the Googler is very anti-supplements now. When you go to Google, the whole, I Google things all the time, but when I Google anything now, there's a whole different look to a page. You can't find side effects of drugs anymore. You can't really get information really quickly, so I'll have to go to a different search engine. And Google, it appears that they have teamed up with the FDA and the AMA to make supplements seem inappropriate or bad. And that goes right into our whole work with our supplement company, where we don't show up on Google because we're a supplement company. So it's bad.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's more than interesting. It's horrifying, because you aren't getting good information, and they make you, just like walking into a doctor's office and you tell them, well, I'm feeling better on magnesium. They will do their best to make magnesium the bad guy, because they never heard of or learned about magnesium, so they're no longer more knowledgeable than the patient. They don't want the patient to be more knowledgeable. So there's a war going on. And
there is definitely.
Yeah, but I'm very happy that you phoned in to ask us, that our customers phone in, and we right away put up the red flag on the play and say, no, it just makes no sense at all. It'll just be a toss away comment. Higher than the RDA is dangerous. Now, that is totally ridiculous. The RDA is 350 to 400 milligrams of a poorly absorbed magnesium, whereas in my case, I've told it many times, I had to be on 1,200 milligrams. Where would I be if I listened to the FDA and just kept with the RDA? I'd be a mess. I'd probably be dead by now. So we are at war, and we all have to, get together and give out the information that will help us and help our friends and loved ones.
Well, I'm glad that your product is available and that you're around to actually educate us as well.
Right.
because it's very hard. You're right, trying to navigate through all of this.
Yeah, hold
yes,
on
and that's why we like you calling in. And we're at the top of the hour.
Thank you.
Like Ginny. Thanks, Diana.
Okay.
Keep
Thank
in
you.
touch.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Okay, we'll be back, everybody, with Hour 2 live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. We'll be back, everybody.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
What city plays?
The old categories. They don't apply anymore. Now we're just superhuman, discarnate things right now.
What city plays?
We're well beyond the categories for men and women right now. Now we're just superhuman, discarnate things right now.
Give me body.
Bring back the body.
Give me body.
Bring back the body.
Give me body.
I do advocate immediate fast to bring back the body.
Give me body.
Bring back the body.
Give me body.
AchieveRadio.com.
Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. Here we go now. Here we go now. The wellness scene with Dr. D. Here we go now. Here we go now. Go to the Carolyn. The wellness scene with Dr. D.
Welcome back, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, Hour 2 this fine Monday, December 2nd, 2019. Holy cow, ladies and gentlemen, we're just a few weeks away from 2020. What on the earth is happening? It's incredible. Anyway, we're so excited to have you guys with us this evening. Yes, this is a live show. Thank you, Nancy L. I know she said she was confused whether or not it was live because the marquee said it was pre-recorded. But no, we're here live. Nancy, thanks for checking in with us and tuning in. And thanks to all our live callers who are holding. We're going to put you on the line with Dr. Dean in just a second. I just want to say this one thing, Carolyn. I was at the grocery the other day store, and I saw the most recent Consumer Reports magazine talking about how to use dietary supplements in this. On the front cover, it says, in this highly unregulated industry. You know, it's just incredible the amount of fear-mongering that's going on right now in the dietary supplement world. Again, all these encroachments. And when you think about it, Carolyn, how many years you've been involved with the health freedom movement and all the different challenges that have faced the dietary supplement industry and the wellness industry, right? And yet it continues to thrive because people do vote with their dollars. They vote with their choices. They are making their own health decisions. But it is, as you said, kind of fake news. I mean, there is, I don't like conspiracies because it implies that we're powerless, and we're not, because we're all gathered here together huddled around the radio and in power and in charge of our own health and determined to stay that way. But some days it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I was just looking up my list of blog topics. I know I haven't been blogging much, but here's one headline. Is the wellness industry friend or foe? F-A-U-X, trying to be cute. And what drives them crazy is the wellness industry is apparently a $4 trillion industry. And it drives medicine crazy that something like this is taking over drugs. And in terms of unregulated, well, tell that to our accountant who has to pay out so much money to our FDA compliance people, what Ginny has to go through to make sure we're in compliance with each and every FDA little nudge and wiggle. I mean, we are regulated probably more than drug companies. When reports come out of drugs that have been pulled, they talk about the drugs being made in Chinese, warehouses that are just in abominable conditions, from hygienic to putting the wrong things in your drug. So, yeah, there is a war on, and we're winning it. That's all I can say. So, yeah, you'll get, friend or foe, the wellness industry. I mean, what's wrong with people wanting to be well and working toward that? So like I said, we're winning the war. I'm just looking for some more articles because they're constantly putting down supplements. Now, at the same time, I put down supplements too because most of them are synthetic. And that's the reason why I got into the, quote, business, in my retirement years, for Pete's sakes, because I didn't trust the supplements that were out there. So if you want something to work well, you've got to do it yourself, and that's what Ginny and I do each and every day. So there.
Yep, I agree completely. It is a lot, but we are winning, absolutely. And we are winning with the quality of product that we put out and with the results that our customers get. And it's something else, but we shall not focus on it too much. All right, now let's take our callers. Let's go to area code, 917. 917, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Hello, David. How are you?
Hi, Ginny. Hi, Dr. Dean. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to hear your voice. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
David,
Ginny, by the way,
let me ask you, do you celebrate Kwanzaa?
No, I don't even know what Kwanzaa is. I heard of it, but I don't know. No. Why?
I just wondered. It comes up on my calendar. The various Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa. It's a week-long annual celebration held in the United States and other nations of Africa in the Americas to honor African heritage.
Oh, okay. No, I just born in Morocco, but I'm from Israel.
Oh my goodness, you're kidding! How can that?
Yeah.
You're an internationalist.
Yes, somewhat. And now I'm in the USA. Yeah.
Right, because you told me you were born in Morocco. But, very good. Okay, go ahead. What's your comment or question?
You got my secret, by the way, right, with the trick. Thank you very much.
Good.
Ginny, by the way, this is the second time I don't get the email for the show that for tonight. So I just decided to call and got the show. But that's okay. Ginny's doing other more important things.
No, we sent it out, David. Let me say we did send it out. We actually sent it out twice because a lot of people didn't get it. But I think just the inundation of Cyber Monday, Cyber Black Friday emails, I was getting like 176 emails a day. I think the computers are just tired. They were wiped out.
Yeah, right. Dr. Dean, you said something very important with the previous caller, and I want to get some information from you about it. You said you're going to a different a search engine, and I would like to, if you can, mention those search engine because it's very important, because that's the way you get the truth, right?
Right. So Ginny was talking to me about this a while back, and Ginny stopped using Google. And what are you using, Ginny? Is it Bing, or tell us about that?
Yeah, I use Bing. Yep, I'm using Bing.
Okay. All right. I have Bing as an option. So, and lately I start to use it more and more. But now I know that you guys using Bing also. So that's great. I'll do that too. That's all. By the way, I'm very suspicious also with Wikipedia. So, I take them with the grain of salt.
Grain of salt. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So we're all going to start using Bing and, do some experiments. Google something on Google and then Bing something on Bing and see what the differences are, because, the media has always tried to direct people into a certain way of thinking, and we really do have to kind of fight against that. We are all being manipulated, right?
Yep.
Okay,
absolutely.
David. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Okay, area code 780-780, the great country, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Welcome, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, my name is Ray, and I have a couple questions, but also I know you mentioned the lectin doctor, and I've tried some of his products. And, of course, he preaches about using olive oil as much as possible. And I'm Italian, so I do use olive oil. But there's other doctors that say don't use any kind of oil ever. So the more I get into trying to fix my own health rather than regular typical doctors that just give you drugs, I get more and more confused.
Right.
Do you have a comment on that, Dr. Dean?
Yes, of course, Ray. I've gone through the confusement for 50 years, and that's where a number of years ago I started to write my 2-year online wellness program to put down everything that I could about health. And from my viewpoint, of course, because as I've said, I'm not a vegetarian, so if someone is, I can't really hold your hand too much there. But what I think I've done, especially when I had to take on this supplement company, at the website drcarolyndeanlive.com, I've got a dozen free ebooks where I go into most health matters and give my common sense opinion. And the one for the overview, I guess, would be Future Health Now Encyclopedia. I have about 138 different conditions that you can look at and get my interpretation and my prescriptions. And, of course, my prescriptions are going to include my complement formulas, because over the years I've realized you just need a handful of nutrients that are well absorbed, that the body loves and will utilize, instead of the hundreds of supplements that are on the market now. So I think, me personally, I've tried to bring all the information I've learned over the past 50 years, put it in a bucket, and people can choose from it. there's also the radio show archives where I I rant on and on about things, or I answer questions as they come up. But I think that's, you're in the right place. The worst is over. You can read what I have to say and get back to either customer service or me on the radio show if you have specific questions. Because I know there's so many people out there that they have a theory, they have tunnel vision, and they have to stick with that theory. I do shift and I bob and weave as things come along, and just try to, as I said, use my common sense. I only do things that make me feel better, and then I pass that information along. About not using any oil at all, that's crazy. The myelin sheath of every nerve in your body requires essential fatty acids. The diets that went to, low oil, low fats, all those people ended up with a lot of problems. It wasn't just dry skin. They had dried brains as well. So that didn't work out too well.
That movie, Lorenzo's Oil, remember that?
Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was really amazing to me. I watched it many years later because that's the way I usually am. I don't go to the theater very much. I watched it on TV, and I was amazed that, it was really basically breaking down part of olive oil that helped a lot of people.
Right.
So I always thought it was good, and now some doctors say it's not. And I get all this from YouTube, basically. So on YouTube, there's a lot of people, not people, but doctors and nutritionists, they believe not to use any seed oils, that they're mostly bad, except for maybe olive oil and something else. But they think seed oils are all bad.
I know. I mean, I have the position that I've been studying this for so long that I know where they're coming from and their bias and just the balance that has to be reached. And that, I guess that's all I'll say, Ray, is that if you're willing to read some of my information, maybe you'll start to see that I'm just approaching things in a common sense manner and trying not to have a, kind of a far out theory that makes me a specialist. That's what you're told. Like when I wanted to have a publisher, have an agent for my magnesium book, they told me, well, that's not specialized enough. You have to narrow it down so that it'll stand out, because magnesium is good for everything. So I walked away from that agent. So the way the media and the publishing industry tries to focus the information in a specialty works against us. So you'll get the lectin doctor, or you'll get the hormone doctor, and they're just doing that to get an audience. Anyway, it's kind of a philosophical
I just have
question.
a couple. Yeah, I have a couple other things. One is, have you had anyone on your products that have had good results with rheumatoid arthritis?
We've had some, because if they're able to also incorporate the yeast protocol, because the autoimmune condition of rheumatoid arthritis, it's, as you know, a lot of inflammation. So you need the magnesium, you need the Remite as well, and a yeast-free diet. I mean, I don't know who or what you're talking about specifically, but we have had good results.
Well, my wife has rheumatoid arthritis. It's not me, but she takes different drugs and monthly injection now. She started about a year ago.
Right.
And it doesn't really get any better. It just sort of manages it.
Right.
But,
well, if she still has some incentive to do something, don't stop any of the drugs. All our formulas can be used in the midst of drugs and still have benefits, and the diet would be helpful. she can only try. And and as there's improvement, then you're able to cut back on the medications because, you know, there are side effects with them, as you know.
Yeah. So she should take Remag and Remite?
Correct. That's it. And the Realign as a detoxifier. Those three would be the ones to begin with.
And you also said no yeast.
Right. You can download the Reset the Yeast Connection book and see if that makes sense to her, because, you know, often with the inflammatory conditions, they give a lot of cortisones, prednisones, etc., and that will create yeast overgrowth, so it becomes a bit of a vicious cycle. So it's important to avoid the sugar, gluten, and dairy products that feed yeast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just ran across some of your things on YouTube just last week. So you're very new to me.
Oh,
but I'm very open-minded, and I like to try new things because I have a lot of issues myself, and some have gotten a little bit better, but not much really.
Right. Well, yes, like I gave you the, you know, where to go for the booklet, and we do have a whole list of YouTubes on my YouTube channel that you can seek out as well if you like looking at video. But yes, do the research on what I'm talking about and see what you think. And did you know, Ray, that I'm from Canada?
No.
Yep.
Where were you born?
You're talking to a Canadian here, Ray.
Where were you born?
Newfoundland.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I would actually like to go there someday, but I'm far east in Edmonton. But
yes.
I was born in Italy. Yeah. And now
yeah,
you live in
Newfoundland
a place way too hot for me in Hawaii, right?
Oh, yes, it's way too hot for Canadians, that's for sure. Yeah, Newfoundland is awesome. Newfoundland is awesome.
I only hear good things about Newfoundland.
Yeah. Okay, one more question, Ray.
Well, yeah, just, the fact that I have tried a lot of different things, and what should I maybe start with? I have a limited budget, so it's a little hard to get all the products.
Right. Starting with the Remag, I think, is the most important because magnesium is necessary for 80% of known metabolic function in the body. So you can't beat that. Nothing trumps that. And you can use the Remag along with Epsom salts baths, putting your wife's hands and feet in an Epsom salt bath would be very helpful. So focus on the magnesium, the Remag, and the reason I created the Remag was so that I could take high enough amounts and not get the laxative effect to make sure my cells were saturated for my heart palpitations and leg cramps and neck pain and IBS and all the rest of it. So magnesium is where you start because that starts getting your energy going in the day, allowing you to sleep at night, and then the body can start healing. And the building block of magnesium is going to make 80% of the body function better, and then from there you have enough energy to go to the next step, which is just to purchase the Remite and then the Realign. So just start with the Remag for both of you, okay?
Yeah, I have restless leg syndrome and I have IBS, but I do take a product called Calm Legs, or just Calm.
Oh yes, sure.
And that seems to work quite good, not 100%. Right. And for IBS, the best thing that I found, not going to a regular doctor, is just fiber, flaxseed, but ground up flaxseed with that husk stuff. What's it called? Something husk.
Right.
And I mix it, and It helps quite a bit. I don't get diarrhea that often anymore.
Right,
but if I just eat, without having too much fiber, then I get it again.
Right. Well, what's going on with the calm legs? Unfortunately, it's got a magnesium that's a laxative. So
yes.
It's like you're taking a magnesium that will irritate your bowels while you're trying to fix your legs and you're trying to heal your IBS. So
well, I tried several things for my restless legs, and the one I'm taking now that I've been taking for a year or two is one of the best that I've had. So
okay,
like I said,
well,
my irritable bowel is not 100%,
yeah.
but close.
Right. Yeah. Well,
so the Remag will help with that.
Yeah, we'll see what you'll have a good story to tell when you use the Remag and see that that's probably going to be more helpful because it is fully absorbed compared with most other magnesiums that are only 10, maximum 20% absorbed. Okay, Ray, I'm moving on. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know your best websites to go to.
drcarolyndeanlive.com has all the books, and the products are at rnareset.com.
RNA Reset. Okay, well, thanks very much, Dr. Dean, and thank you for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and good luck to you and your wife, Ray. Thank you. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye.
Ray, let me just also remind all of our Canadian listeners that we do have a great distributor up in Canada. Lorraine at truehealthcanada.ca will be able to help you as well if you want to get the products in country. truehealthcanada.ca. Yep, Lorraine. She's awesome.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Okay, excellent. Wonderful caller. Beautiful man. Okay, let's go to area code 808. 808, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and state your question or comment.
Can you guys hear me okay?
No,
Hello?
You're very blurbly. And you're just around the corner. If you're in 808, you're in Hawaii, right?
Okay, I just took it off the speaker. Is that better? Hello? You still there?
It's louder, but still warbly.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I'm on Verizon here on Maui. I don't know what service you use, Doctor. Okay. But anyhow, this is the second week in a row. I sat here for over an hour trying to get through to you, and hopefully you can hear me well enough. Purchase something. Okay.
If you talk slowly, I can hear you. And if I can't, you can type your question into the chat. So go ahead. What's your question?
Okay. I purchased some of the Remax. Did you get that?
Yep.
Okay. Prior to that, I've been taking L-threonate. Okay.
Right.
Should I discontinue that? Okay.
Right. Well, the thing about L-threonate, we can send you the FAQ I have on that. That was
I read it, Doctor. I don't want to waste your time like the last rambling call that you just got. I already read that.
Oh, come on.
Okay?
Please do not dish our customers. That is inappropriate.
I'm your customer.
I know.
I'm your neighbor here on Maui. Okay.
I know, but you're coming across as being irritated because we haven't got to you.
Well, I'm irritated because 2 weeks in a row I try to get in, I call right away, I put my stuff in, and I get bleached over. Okay? Anyhow, should I discontinue it? I read the FAQ. You're still there?
Okay. Yes.
Should I discontinue it?
You read the FAQ. I don't know. Do you want to continue it? Was it making you feel better?
Hey, Doc, I'm asking you.
I'm not
I feel better since Doc, I'm asking you as a doctor, should I take both of them? You're the magnesium expert.
I'm not an expert on your body. You have to see if you feel better on both of them or you just feel better on the Remag. I know the threonate tends to be very expensive. I know I got the laxative effect with it. You read the FAQ. So it's up to you to try them both together. If you don't need to waste your money on both of them, then just do the Remag because we know that's much better absorbed.
Okay, got it. But once again, like I said, I'm taking both of them right now, all right?
Right.
And I didn't notice any significant difference by adding the Remag into the scenario, so I don't know which one of the magnesiums is helping me more, okay? So I guess I got to just stop taking one or the other, okay?
Right.
And see what the effects are.
Right.
Okay?
So how much Remag are you taking?
I'm taking I built up to 1 tablespoon, a day, okay? I was thinking about cranking it up a little bit more.
Now, 1 tablespoon, that's 3 teaspoons, correct?
Or excuse me, 1 teaspoon, excuse me. I'm taking 1 teaspoon, like the dosage on the bottle says, in 4 ounces of water.
And if you were listening earlier, as you say you were, then 1 teaspoon is less than the RDA, so that's not very much. I mean,
so you think I should increase that?
I personally would increase it if I wanted to saturate my cells with magnesium in order to get as much effect as possible.
Okay.
What are you?
How long have you been on
what are you working on? What symptoms are you?
Well, I had some issues. I had some issues, and I don't know if this is getting through because you said you can't hear. Had some issues earlier in the year with waking up with chest pains. Went through a whole scenario of, cardio, echo, yada, 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 stuff stuck on my chest, okay? The whole thing came back and said, hey, first they want to put you on some kind of beta blocker, they want to put you on statins, yada, yada, yada. And I don't take any prescription drugs, never have, okay?
Right.
My older sister told me about magnesium, and that's when I started taking, the first one, and then I stumbled into you on YouTube and found out about your product and ordered your product. Okay.
Right. Well,
matter of fact, I called your Maui office. I called your Maui office, and they said no, she doesn't talk to anybody here on Maui.
Yeah, I don't have a Maui office.
If you search if you Bing or Google, you come up that you have a Maui office in Kihei. There's a telephone number for it and everything else, Doc. How long have you been on Maui for, Doc?
10 years. So anyway, have you read my book, Heart Health, the free download Heart Health at drcarolyndeanlive.com?
Yeah, I downloaded it and went through the whole thing. Okay.
Oh, good. Okay, then that more magnesium is necessary, and maybe you should be looking at the Remite and some potassium broth and look at the whole picture and not just focus on magnesium alone. I wouldn't, if you're saying they want to put you on drugs, but you just want to take my Remag, I can't let it go at that to make you think magnesium is the only drug you need.
Yeah, doctor, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I went and got tested and went through all these other issues as far as my heart condition goes, and it came back that said, no, you don't need to be on beta blockers. You don't need to be on steroids. They think that the chest pains might have been caused by sleep apnea, okay? And I've read all your stuff, and magnesium seems like that helps, that area, okay? All right? So that's kind of the course that I've been trying to pursue is, I want, hey, if you don't, I'm not telling you anything new. You're a doctor. If you don't sleep good, you don't feel good, okay?
Right. Right. So, then what I'm saying is, what I've learned is you're only on 1 teaspoon, which isn't enough to cover what may have been years of magnesium deficiency. I didn't even get your first name, but you're coming through loud and clear now. What's your first name and how old are you?
My first name is Dan, and I prefer not to say how old I am. Okay.
Right.
I'm tired of getting profiled.
What do you think of the book that you read and what I'm saying now? Does that give you information to go ahead then and take more Remag and maybe take some of the other products to support your heart?
Okay. Based on what I've read and looking at the other products that you have on your website, I think I will increase my dosage of Remag, but I'm not looking to introduce one of your other products into my life, right now. I figure,
good.
you put too many variables, you're not going to know which is which, okay? So I'll take your advice and increase the dosage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can't. You're not even. You're not even at a stage with your Remag experiment to know what's going on, especially when you say you added it and didn't notice any difference. So you just have to keep increasing it. And, maybe I'd say when your L-threonate bottle runs out, just leave it off for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, well, in terms of, what you were saying before, Doctor, in terms of the cost, the Remag is just about the same cost as the, L-threonate. Are you familiar with Alive and Well on Maui?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Okay. Well, the cost for a bottle of, L-threonate at Alive and Well on Maui is about the same as your Remag, and you don't have to pay shipping costs, obviously. Okay.
Except for the fact, when I tried the L-threonate, in order to get my 1,000 milligrams, I was having to take 10 pills a day, so it was lasting me for a week, and all I did was get the laxative effect. So it's about the absorption of the magnesium as much as the type of magnesium.
Okay, there you go. Well, I appreciate the advice. There you go. What's your favorite restaurant on Maui?
I go between Longi's and Andaz.
Okay, there you go. Well, I live up country, so I go to Elite Miley General Store most of the time.
Oh, right. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha. Take care. Aloha, Dan.
Okay, very good. Area code 630-630. You're on the line with Dr. Dean.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Carolyn Dean. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello. Oh, good. Hi, I am Victoria, and I am from Chicago, so I'll try not to make this too rambly, but kind of want to give you a real quick big picture. And I also stopped using Google, and I will try Bing. That was a good tip. So I'm 55, and 3.5 years ago, I injured the bottom of my feet wearing spiky high heels. I'm an event planner. It was a large-scale fundraiser. Literally couldn't get to my flats. And then several weeks of trying to heal on my own, I went to get a diagnosis from the podiatrist, nothing else. I'm all in line with most people here. And so also as a holistic nutritionist, I do believe in the body's ability to self-heal and self-correct. So I wanted to know what I was working with, and I had like 5 different issues. It was, I can't remember offhand, but like Morton's and aroma, metatarsalgia, plantar fasciitis, a couple of other things. And I've done many, many things over the years. No pill surgeries, nothing allopathic. But it started in the right foot, eventually transferred to the left foot, was told it was a perfect storm, that things had been happening behind the scenes for a while, but then like a bunch of different issues started happening since then. And so besides the foot issues, and I can't walk on my bare feet. So, but structurally, like they seem fine. But if I take off these special recovery sandals made by runners, I can't bear my weight on my bare feet. It feels like there's little round pads that hurt when my feet are pressing down on the ground. Although I can walk on sand and thick carpet is okay, but like hardwood floors, concrete, there's no way. I can't do it. And so thankfully these shoes saved me. But soon after that, all of a sudden I have spinal stenosis, peripheral neuropathy, and my legs get really pinchy, the lower legs, when wearing leggings. And then I've always had constipation issues. My body tends to run dry, thyroid issues, maybe 5-10 years, fatty liver recently, frozen shoulder most recently, just a couple of weeks ago. I've had varicose veins since my 20s, and I'm 5'7", and I've always been between 128 to 135 pounds, so I'm thin. But the varicose veins have been terrible, and then and now just recently over the past summer, they're even on the tops of my feet, my varicose veins. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And there was a point, too, last year where my bones literally felt like they were going to crumble underneath me. I've had eye issues suddenly, floaters, metabolic issues, just a ton of things where, just to give you a quick picture, 3.5 years ago, literally could do a round off into the splits. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? I discovered I had an oxalate toxicity, too, which I know is a mineral chelator, especially robs the body of calcium. So I ordered everything. I've supplemented my own, and started getting a little better after the functional medicine practitioner I was seeing. But like you, I didn't like the supplements he was giving me because I don't really trust the supplements out there. So I started on your product a couple weeks ago after a nutritionist started me on Remite, and then I found your other products on my own. So I got the whole shebang. I got it all. Except for that one that
a little bit. Okay, Victoria,
go ahead.
Have you had children?
Yes, 2.
2 children, okay. Well, it sounds like, like an autoimmune situation. I'm not going to say it's a disease or a condition. It's an autoimmune situation where the body is inflamed for some reason, and the peripheral neuropathy. I mean, it can begin as feet issues because you're standing. The gravity puts a lot of pressure. I mean, I would wonder about your blood sugar in terms of.
It's fine.
Okay. Yeah,
I would say a touch high, just a touch, but otherwise it's always the last one. It came out really, really good, and I eat impeccably, high quality fats, protein, low carb, no sugar, no grains. I recently started raw dairy, low ox veggies. I do the Epsom salt foot soaks every other day with boron and some potassium. I started drinking the adequate amount of water enhanced with electrolytes, and I started feeling better, but now I'm on your protocol, and I am starting to feel a little better. I am, and I know it's like usually it would be like 1 step forward, 2 back, but now it's getting better overall.
Right, because it sounds
but then I get nervous.
Right. Well, it sounds like a lot of inflammation, and the thing about our products is Remag is an the magnesium itself is an anti-inflammatory, and it's going to help all these issues just because it works on 80% of known metabolic functions. So, I mean, you're on the right track, and like you say, you can't get discouraged. There could be a little back and forth, but if you keep reading my information and listening to the radio shows of the people who have autoimmune conditions, or what I determine them as, I said earlier, is most people with autoimmune is magnesium deficiency and yeast overgrowth. So it sounds like you're on the right diet, and things should sort themselves out. How much Remag are you up to so far?
So far, I just upped it. Not too much since I just started. So I do a half a teaspoon right now. I just started today of the Remag. Okay. 1 teaspoon of the Remite, just because I started that earlier, and I also added a half a teaspoon of the Recalcia, and I do the 1 scoop of Restructure. along with the reset and the B and the C, just one of the C's and one of the B vitamins, B complex.
Okay.
And I do that with salt.
Yeah. You're eating dairy, though. Do you need the Recalcia?
Well, I just started the dairy, and I don't eat too much. With the raw dairy, I don't seem to react to it, and so I think I'll back off of that calcium then. The tablets, I mean, the Recalcia.
The liquid,
but I was taking like a half, just like to kind of cover myself, and I wasn't sure how much I was really getting.
Right. Well, in the Remite book, Victoria, I just want people to take 600 milligrams of calcium either in their diet and or the Recalcia. So, yeah, it may be a half teaspoon could be good for you, but it's just a concern in the beginning when you're starting the Remag to make sure you're really saturated with magnesium before taking extra calcium, because the magnesium is going to help dissolve calcium maybe that's hanging out in your Morton's neuroma or in that, the fasciitis. It'll dissolve it and direct it toward the bones and teeth where you want it to be, because as you say, if your bones were feeling crumbly, it implies that you're not getting the calcium where it should be, and it's going where it shouldn't be. People who are constipated tend to have calcium. Calcium slows down the bowel movements. I don't know. I mean, that just struck me when I'm talking right now. The dryness while you're doing the increased water, and you've got sea salt in the water. The oxalates, if you get enough magnesium, the oxalates are very often not a problem anymore. So you're at the start. I think what you should do is Ginny will get Victoria to hook up with Julie and give her, Victoria give Julie a report maybe once a week to make sure we don't miss anything. Okay?
Oh, I'm going to cry. Thank you so much. Oh, I feel cared about, like I'm really on the right track. God bless you for all you do. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, Victoria.
So thank you.
Just we're all leaking here. Everybody's leaking. Okay. Just email yourself into support@rnareset.com and just say, Carolyn wants me to hook up with Julie. She works with the people who are on the on the bundle, the Total Body Reset.
Yes. Okay. Oh, wonderful. Oh, great. Yeah, I've talked to a few of your people so far. I love them all. Everyone keeps.
Yes. Well, we want you to. Yeah, we want you to be regular, so that it's like you have an appointment and then you set a goal and then you reach the goal, because you've got a lot going on and it can get distracting when one of your issues starts acting up and you don't know why. And even with the spinal stenosis, if there's calcification involved, then that's where saturating yourself with the 3 to 4 teaspoons of Remag is going to make a big difference.
But I build up slowly, right?
Yes. And you sip it through the day. Yes, you want your cells to slowly rev up and not rev up too fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're just bless you so much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll email Julie right now.
Oh, good. Okay, Victoria, good to hear from you, and we look forward to your successes.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent, wonderful. Calls, comments, people, participation, just absolutely glorious. 602-666-6027 is the number to call this evening. We'll take phone calls for a few more minutes for Dr. Dean. I know she's got some other things to say to share with everybody. Let me share, Carolyn, that Nan typed in that she got her vitamin D results from the Grassroots Health Test, and was surprised at how low it was, even though she lived in the desert and she thought she got enough sun. Her score was just a 23, Carolyn. So she's excited to know about supplementing with the and changing that, and how to on the Grassroots Health website, Nan, you can go on and see the calculator that will look at your score and your body weight and that kind of thing, and tell you what increase you need to make in your vitamin D so that you can get your levels into the ideal range. So that's really fun. She says she hasn't gotten the magnesium results yet. So.
Right. Yeah, that's we want people to report to us. We don't see your results. We're not privy to your results. We will be getting kind of overall reports about the statistical analysis, but we won't see your individual results. So yes, you do have to call in and tell us about it. And you know what, my vitamin D was low too, but I don't feel any symptoms from a low vitamin D. So what I'm personally doing is I'm going to stick with my Blue Ice Royal because I want that K2 and I want that vitamin A, because vitamin A is very important for copper metabolism and a whole bunch of things. And whatever D I'm getting from the Blue Ice Royal, I want that. But I'm adding the plant lectin. Plant lectin? Is it a lectin? Oh my gosh. Plant lichen, L-I-C-H-E-N, vitamin D. And I'm getting that on Amazon. Let me see. Will it be faster to walk to my cupboard? Plant-based vitamin D. Yeah, I'm getting Naturello, N-A-T-U-R-E-L-O, vitamin D3, plant-based from lichen, L-I-C-H-E-N. So I'm taking one day and two the next day. It's a 2,500 IUs. So I'm playing, you know how I've said for years, 1,000 to 2,000 vitamin D3. And I wasn't taking that. I was just taking the Blue Ice Royal. So according to numbers, I wasn't getting enough. So I'm doing the experiment right along with you. So I'm taking 2,500 one day and 5,000 the next day, and I'm watching my magnesium intake. I started to take a little more, and I started to get the laxative effect, so it was too much. So we're all doing the experiment together to look at our symptoms and our numbers as well. Okay, so thank you, Nan. Yep. Thank you for bringing that out.
Excellent. And we got the sweetest comment from Super Dougie, who we just completely, totally in love, and we haven't heard from him for a while, but he's always listening. And he said, that last caller, when she cried, that's how I felt when I get a health setback, and I really feel alone with it all. This show helps sort it all out. Is that the most precious thing? Wait a minute. I have to do this right now. It's so true, and I've said it so many times, and I remember, Carolyn, when I first started doing customer service, and I was saying, you know, now I'm used to being a coach and a pastor, and I'm used to hearing people in their concerns and stuff like that, and knowing that's not where they belong, that's not who they are, and always, you know, calling them into a bigger place. And I would hear people telling me their health stories and stuff like that, and I would immediately try to start to let them know, no, you know, you don't have to be there, stay there, whatever. And Carolyn said to me one day, she said, Ginny, you have to let the people talk. You have to let them spill their cup. They think they're crazy. They don't know what's wrong with their bodies. Their families tuned them out. They're not listening to them. You have to listen. And let them be acknowledged for the pain that they're in. It's terrible to be alone in your pain. And I said, okay, then that's what we'll do. That's what our customer service team does. Unlike poor Daniel earlier, who didn't think we were listening.
I know, poor guy. Yeah, it was
so
like I was saying,
to show you.
Shut up, Dan. You don't know.
No matter what you do, people can still interpret it the way they want to. Yeah.
Right, but Dan just needs more Remag, and he'll just be nice and calm and happy and living in Hawaii. Yeah, it is. Yes. It is difficult, and it was not so much me telling, no, Dina, you have to listen. See, you listen too hard, and you want to help them, and you want to dive in and say, well, you got to do this, and we're here, and you just wanted to give them the answer that you knew they were looking for. But, yes, they have to be heard first. They really need to know that you get the whole picture. And sometimes I'll interrupt someone and say, okay, it's my turn when I get enough information, because, there are so many people who do want to talk and do want to get their answers. And it has to be personal, because look at our health is so personal. I mean, look at what Victoria's going through, and she still has a smile in her voice. She still has some energy. She's still trying to sort all this out, and she still takes the time and gives out the energy to call in. I mean, that's a hard call to make and go through all that. And she's going to be just great. She's going to do so well.
Yeah, she's going to do great. She's going to do great. And it's ironic when she's in that event planning world and she's just busy holding parties and hosting spaces for everybody, and there she is miserable. And that's a terrible conflict to be in, too. There is some kind of a conflict there, that you can't allow yourself to have the party that you're hosting for everybody else type of a thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow.
Yeah, bless her heart. Okay, so we're 4 minutes from the top of the hour. You said you wanted to lay a couple good testimonials on us. So how about if we do that to wrap up our show today?
Sure. Thank you. This is about vitamin D. Gentleman says, my story is crazy. It doesn't make sense to me. For 6 months or so, I had severe insomnia and was crippled with back and rib pain. I had my vitamin D blood checked. It was at 13, very low. I've learned that sleep problems, back, rib pain are signs of vitamin D deficiency. My doctor started me on 50,000 IUs weekly for 12 weeks. When I started...
Carolyn?
Hello, Ginny?
Yeah, what happened?
I think Bob rolled over on the phone and cut us off for a second.
Okay. I'm at 50,000 IUs, and then it just went away.
Okay. And he said, when I started with the high dose vitamin D, it was wonderful. I was sleeping again, back and rib pain went away. Then came week 6, and everything backfired. I was having bad insomnia again. That's when my research started, and I found you. I bought Remag for my insomnia and other magnesium deficiency symptoms a week ago and have been drinking Remag water with Himalayan salt, taking it very slow, just an eighth to a quarter teaspoon. Also bought Blue Ice Royal. My question is, will Blue Ice Royal and Remag be enough to make my vitamin D levels increase? Now, this is important. This follows right along after Nan and her vitamin D. So I wrote to this gentleman already. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. Lori, it's a woman. And I told her about the plant lichen vitamin D and, to keep the Blue Ice Royal and add the plant lichen vitamin D and keep going on her Remag to get to 2 and 3 teaspoons because you need magnesium in order to make the vitamin D work. You need it to help activate the vitamin D. So it all goes together. So, yeah, that was a great follow-up to tune in there. So I think I'll stop there because it is only a couple minutes left. And we should tell people actually they can do referral candy to get free shipping or whatever we give. Refer your practitioner if you feel that they would be interested in REMAG. We have a kit to send out to practitioners, so let us know it's supported RNA Reset. And get your blood testing done. It is one of the ways to really find out what's going on with the products that you're using, whether they be ours or others. And it's all standardized in one lab. So that information is under research at the RNAreset.com website. Anything else, Ginny?
Perfectly executed, Dr. Dean. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Great show. I appreciate everybody, especially Bob and Ginny and Bill.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for showing up.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.